Joining us now is Chuck Todd, host of Meet the Press, which airs every Sunday morning here on NBC4 Los Angeles at 8 o'clock. So, Chuck, let's talk post office, mail-in ballots, and the election. I don't normally start off with a prediction, and my predictions don't mean much anyhow, but one can see that based on the narrative that we're getting out of the White House and the Trump-Pence campaign, that grassroots Democrats, as you get close to November, will say it's no longer a priority just to defeat the incumbent president. You'll have to do it on Election Day. Do you believe there's going to be a renewed focus at in-person balloting despite the pandemic because of the narrative that's coming out of the Trump White House that anything other than Election Day results are going to be invalid?
That's an interesting theory. I had another theory. My unintended consequence of all this would, I assume there'd be more people voting before October 15th than we've ever seen before, that you would see a concerted effort. And maybe we're both going to say, we're basically two sides of the same coin here. I do think you'll see this concerted effort that says, if you don't vote by October 15th, wait till Election Day. You know, something like that. Because I talked to a bunch of these secretaries of state this week about this, and essentially the assumption is, boy, if you don't feel good, if you haven't mailed that ballot in and you're looking at, you're less than 2 weeks, 15 days, don't do it in the mail. Do it another way. So I think you and I both are saying the same thing. It wouldn't surprise me if you had a surge in early vote because of that. And at the same time, what you're describing, and also a surge in same-day vote, you know, if you missed your window.
So the Democratic National Convention starts on Monday. Very odd element to all of this being the coronavirus outbreak and the fact it's going to be a virtual convention. Of course, most conventions are made for television anyhow. What are you looking for here?
Well, there's a couple things that I think will make these conventions different. Like the one thing we're not going to see is any conversation about, you know, discord in the ranks, because number one, there aren't a lot of delegates in person to talk to, right? And reporters can sometimes find those stories. And I also think you will have a whole bunch of speakers who don't feel like they have to placate the delegates, right? Delegates to national conventions want red meat, rather than it's the left side of the red meat or the right side of the red meat. So I expect them all, particularly on the Democratic side, to be very middle-of-the-road messaging, right? Very much trying to be as mainstream as possible. And the question I have is, without the delegates there to create the appearance of excitement, you know, is it an intimate conversation that people feel like they're having in these speeches? Or does the lack of an audience make it look more prepackaged, look more like an infomercial? I think it's a real challenge for both parties to make this compelling, to want to stick around and watch it all.
So who's on the program?
Well, we're going to talk to Bernie Sanders, see what he thinks of how progressives have been treated by this ticket. And then the National Security Advisor, Ambassador Robert O'Brien, on what is easily the signature foreign policy achievement of Trump's 4 years, which is brokering this peace deal between UAE and Israel.
Chuck Todd, host of Meet the Press, 8 o'clock Sunday mornings. Thank you very much for joining us, and good luck. We'll be watching starting Monday.
You got it, brother.
NBC4's news conference at 9 o'clock this week is preempted by NBC Sports. I'm Conan Nolan. Have a great Sunday.